Here at Daily Motor, we've tested a number of Mazda 3s on our highway fuel economy test loop, but this one is arguably the most interesting for the driving enthusiast. It's the naturally aspirated front-wheel drive 6-speed manual. So what sort of fuel economy can you expect driving this steady state on the highway? Tonight we're going to find out. Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and today we've got the real-world highway fuel economy test on the 2025 Mazda 3 hatchback 2.5 NA 6-speed manual. In this test, we're going to head out on the highway and do 50 miles out and 50 miles back, averaging 70 miles per hour, to get a realistic fuel economy number for this driver's spec $32,000 manual hatchback. But before we get started, let's hop out and take a look at it. Yes, this S Premium 6-speed manual is probably the Mazda 3 that I would choose if I were buying this car. Compared to the Civic that we just had recently, this has more features, better sound system, a nicer interior, a little bit less space, I would argue looks cooler and better, and has the 6-speed manual transmission. Only costs a little bit more though than that Civic Sport hybrid hatchback that we had. So a lot of decisions in this compact car class, but I am curious about this one because a lot of cars are going to smaller motors, but this 2.5 liter still packs a decent punch with 186 pound-feet of torque. So if you do want to see more on the car, check the link below. We've got our full review, and like I said, we've got coverage on a lot of other Mazda 3s as well. In fact, we've done fuel economy tests on the non-turbo all-wheel drive, the turbo all-wheel drive hatch, the sedan all-wheel drive turbo, and and then the turbo all-wheel drive with winter tires on it. So yeah, I mean we've thoroughly covered the Mazda 3, and we quite like it. But like I said, this one is arguably the most interesting from a driver's perspective. So why do we do this test? Well, the EPA's highway fuel economy test, which gives this Mazda 3 36 miles per gallon, I believe it was, that test only averages 48 miles per hour. And when they're testing manual transmission cars, there are specified shift points that the EPA uses for manual transmissions. Automatics are kind of allowed to just shift whenever, but manuals have to shift at certain points. So oftentimes, they don't do as well in EPA tests as they actually perform in the real world. So in order to test out how it will perform at steady state highway speeds in the real world, we're going to go out tonight when there's no traffic. We're going to do 100 miles, and then we're going to come back to the gas pump, fill up using the same pump and the same 3-click fueling method, and get a result. Now, a few other things to note for the test. Outside temperature will be probably high 50s by the time we're doing this test tonight. I'm going to set the tire pressures to their door placard PSI cold readings. We're going to check that when we're static. You'll all see it below. Ooh, a little Mazda Miata RF action over there. And we're going to run the climate control at 73 degrees auto. So, without any further ado, let's head to the gas station. We are at the gas station. We got all filled up with about 1.782 gallons of fuel. Before leaving the station, we're going to reset our trip meter. We're going to reset our average fuel economy. Got our GPS reset. We'll do it again once more for good measure. And we are ready to begin. No different drive modes here in the manual Mazda 3. Also, that guy with the McLaren has been standing next to the gas pump for some time. I kind of wonder if he has forgotten his wallet. Be a bit unfortunate. Anyway, no different drive modes here. Your drive mode is simply which gear you're in and how aggressively you're pressing down on the accelerator. So, we are going to continue nice and easy over to the highway. It's about half a mile away, and pick up the test from there. Now, the goal of this test isn't to hypermile. We're not trying to get the best possible fuel economy for this car, but rather a realistic figure. So in order to do that, I'm getting up to highway speed here at a reasonable pace, and I'm going to set the cruise control at a GPS-indicated 71 miles per hour. That should allow us to average 70 over the whole test. No problem getting up to speed here, even in top gear. I'm hearing this, it's probably not even going to come through on the mics, but I'm hearing the slightest drivetrain noise throughout the week that I've had this car, and it just doesn't seem right to me. I feel like something in this transmission is wrong. And, you know, when you're a journalist car, you could easily have had somebody who's not very good at driving manual be behind the wheel of this and do a little damage. But either way, hopefully it doesn't affect any of our driving. Settling in, 71 on the dash seems to be giving us 70 on the GPS. Looks like quite an accurate speedometer. Close the sunroof. Road noise is about average. I would say maybe slightly above average for the class and the price point. Yeah, we do have a live fuel economy readout on the left. It's giving us about 40 MPG cruising right here. So, yeah, we'll see how things do. But I'm going to continue on with the test. It's also worth noting that in this premium model, no active lane keeping. There is a little bit of a lane departure assist, but no active kind of keep you centered in the lane sort of self-driving. So I'm going to have to keep my hands on the wheel the whole night. Not a big deal though. So I'm going to continue on with the test and catch up with you at the end. Do some members-only test on the Bose sound system here. In the meantime, enjoy this time lapse of the entire trip. Coming into the end of the highway fuel economy test here in the Mazda 3 hatch with the 2.5 naturally aspirated motor, front-wheel drive, and 6-speed manual. The glories of manual transmissions at highway speed. Locked in at 42 miles per gallon according to the vehicle's readout, significantly higher than the EPA's 36 mile per gallon figure. And again, like I said at the beginning of the video, the EPA does manual transmission cars dirty. They test with very specific shift points, and they don't get that nice, just smooth, steady state cruising in 6th gear sort of results that we get here in the real world. So this has been a very easy test and significantly more fuel efficient than you might have thought. In fact, if this number pans out, we're going to be more fuel efficient than I think most, if not all, of the Civics we've ever tested, including the Civic Hybrid. And I think better than the Corolla hatch that we tested as well. Just the Jetta. I think the Jetta is the only one that would be higher than this. I'll have to go back and check some of my numbers. But if this actually ends up being the pump calculated number, I will be very, very pleased. Other than that, this is also just a fine place to be on the highway. I noticed that the road noise does seem to be a little bit lower than most cars in this class. Once we got off the concrete section of the highway, it was very, very quiet in here. I was very satisfied. Seat comfort's good. Driving position's good. I mean, it's a good car. It's just it's a good place to be for $30,000 or $32,000 as you're looking at this one on the highway. Bose sound system is great as well. Yeah, all good things. Also, interestingly, for our fuel economy number is the fact that we are cruising at just over 2,500 RPM. Take a look at our tack shot here. This is quite a bit higher than we usually get with cars cruising on the highway. A lot of new vehicles, we're seeing them well under 2,000 RPM. But despite this being a little bit larger motor, this 2.5 liter is cruising at just over 25. But it doesn't really seem to be affecting us much with fuel economy. So not too disappointed there. So we're going to get it back to the pump, fill it up, and then I'll catch up with you in the morning to crunch our final numbers. We are back and fueled up in the Mazda 3 hatch with the 6-speed manual. And before coming out and filming this last section, I took a look at some of our previous compacts, and 40 miles per gallon seems to be about the number to aim for one of the non-performance versions of these cars. We saw the Corolla hatch around 38, Civic hatch around 38. Civic hatch manual was at 42, however. And the Civic hybrid, obviously automatic, was 40. Sentra was 38, if I remember correctly. And the Jetta is the only one that's really above and beyond. The automatic was at 47 and the manual was up at 50. Manuals are clearly performing better than their automatic counterparts for cruising on the highway. But what about the Mazda 3? Well, remarkably, it seems that we have never tested a non-turbo, just front-wheel drive, non-turbocharged Mazda 3 on our highway fuel economy test. Mazda loves to give out their turbocharged engines. Yeah, they're cooler, more impressive, but I think the naturally aspirated 2.5 is the best way to spend your money on a Mazda 3. The turbo is faster, but it's not necessarily more exciting. It's just got more low-end grunt. It's a little more smooth. So, without any further ado, let's crunch our numbers. We did 100.3 miles divided by, what was our pump calculation? 2.409 gallons. Look at that. All right, lining up. The car gave us, it was actually 42.8 by the time we ended our test, and the pump's giving us 41.6. So we're getting the round up to 42 miles per gallon here in the Mazda 3 Premium with the 6-speed manual. Definitely a good number for a car that's this nice to drive. And definitely a reminder not to trust the EPA numbers when it comes to highway fuel economy and maybe even city fuel economy with the manuals, because that's a whole 6 miles per gallon higher than the fuel economy estimate for this car. We've got a 13.2 gallon fuel tank in here, so 13.2 times 42 miles per gallon is giving you a very impressive for the class 550 miles of highway cruising range at 70 miles per hour here in the Mazda 3 hatch manual. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're glad to see that Mazda 3 hangs with the smaller displacement and turbocharged cars out there. This one, bigger motor, higher revs, doesn't matter, still gets great fuel economy. Stick that to the EPA, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.